I came as soon as you called. I feel like there's supposed to be at least another one. I think you might be talking about me. Wait a minute. Your Zord is also a T-Rex? Yep. Although, I'm pretty sure mine looks very different from yours. Hello everyone, Road Breach here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Power Rangers Lightning Collection Dino Charge Red Ranger. But before we take a look at the figure, let's take a look at the box. And this box is once again very tall, just like the Spider-Man figure that I lost, unfortunately. But other than that, you can see it says Power Rangers Lightning Collection Dino Charge Red Ranger. It's got a nice spot varnished picture of the Red Ranger's helmet, which also continues around here. And you can also see it says Power Rangers Dino Charge. And we get a rendering of the figure on the back with most of the some of the accessories. And don't eat this, you idiot! Don't eat anything in the box. And instead of Bondi, we get Hasbro, which is a pretty nice change of pace to have these figures being produced by Hasbro. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. I like the packaging. So, I guess without further ado, let's just take a look at the figure. So, taking a look at the figure, we can see that it does look quite similar to what was presented on screen in the show Power Rangers Dino Charge. If you take a look at the helmet, it is actually a nice looking Power Rangers helmet. Got the yellow teeth, the silver faceplate, and I've also kind of noticed how big the visor really is. I mean, think about it. If all of this was if all this black was see-through, you'd have a lot more range of, you'd have a lot more field of view if you're wearing this helmet. You can also see that it has some nice green dino eyes on the sides of the helmet, as well as this nice little shoulder pad right here, along with a very well painted dino emblem, signifying which dinosaur that this ranger is supposed to be. Anyway, you can also see that there's some burgundy on the sleeves, and the gloves are also done pretty well. But one flaw, and on here there's a little bit of black. We'll talk about why that is right here. That's not intentional. That was because of me. And the belt, it's also nicely done. You can also see that it's also very well done on the back. And for the most part, the legs are pretty much just red with some silver. And some nice treads on the bottom. They're not complete though, it's mostly just on the outsides. So yeah, this figure is pretty well detailed for what it is. And also, this belt is actually a separate piece, so it's also pretty nice. It's also got a bit of detail on it. Just, the figure looks good. As for posability, ball joint at the head, although it is very limited. You can look up that far and look down that far. Butterfly joints are right there. The arms can move out that far. They can rotate 360 degrees, although they are a little bit limited on the shoulder pad area. Swivel here. Double bend at the elbow. Swivel here. And the wrist can also move in and out. Ball joint at the diaphragm area. And instead of a waist swivel, there is actually another joint right there, so he can arc that far and crunch that far. The legs can move outward that far, can kick forward that far, and go backward that far. Tight swivel here. Double bend at the knee. Swivel here. And the feet can tilt upward that far, can tilt backward that far, And you also do get a little bit of pivot. As for accessories, you get the Dino Morpher, which is also a gun. You get a sword, which is also pretty nicely done. And you get the Tyler head sculpt, which is an okay resemblance to Brennan Masia on the show, but I mean, they did the best they could. And you can just pop the head off and pop the new one on. And by the way, this head was extremely tight right out of the box. So what I did was I took some Dawn dish soap and I put it on the ball joint to make the head a little bit less tight.
This lubrication technique was brought to you by Steven's Toy Reviews.
You also get some alternate hands with like a karate chop hand and also a fist. And one problem that I have with this figure is the wrist pegs themselves. I mean, these wrist pegs are very, very thin, and I fear that you may actually break these things when switching out the hands. But they do switch out, and I have been careful thus far. Hopefully that will continue to be. You can fit the Dino Morpher gun in the hand like this, although I feel like there really should have been like a ball joint or something, because in a situation where you're fighting ground soldiers or whatever, then you wouldn't be holding a gun this relaxed like this. You'd be holding it straight out like that. But then he's not holding the gun right, so that kind of sucks, and I really wish that he was holding the gun a little bit straighter when you stick his arm out like that. And now, about this hand. What sucks about this hand is that the paint just came off. Like, it just rubbed off onto the hand, and that's what I really don't like about this. Also, one really stupid thing that the box tells you to do is put the gun in the left hand, but the gun doesn't work well in the left hand, and it works better in the right hand because it actually has the proper trigger finger for that. And if you put it in the left hand, it's just going to rub the paint off, and it's not going to fit well. And the bottom two fingers are really close to the palm, and that's just kind of gonna warp the hand, and you see what you know where I'm getting at. Not a good idea to do this. You also get an effects part for the sword, and what you do is just slide it onto the sword like this. Just feed it through there, nice and carefully. So that way this part wraps around the sword like that, and there you go. Now I feel that it's only fair that we compare this figure to two other Red Ranger figures that I have. So here are the two other Red Ranger figures that I have in my collection, and you can see that the Saban Build-A-Figure line figures are actually a little taller than this one. I think this one stands out about 5 inches, where these are a little bit closer to like 6 or something, 6 or 7. And I guess we could compare him to a Marvel Legends figure, the only Marvel Legends figure that I have right now, as I lost the first one that I ever got. And I guess we could also compare him to Mr. Litzia from Darling in the Franxx, who is actually a little bit taller than him. Kind of surprised. And I guess we could take this a little bit further and pretty much just compare him to most of my collection.
Overall, the figure's pretty good.
Well, I do think there were some bad decisions made on Hasbro's part on what to do with the weapons in a particular hand. I do think that the figure is good regardless of those particular bad decisions. And I believe the Brennan Masia head sculpt is also very well detailed and pretty accurate to how he looked in the show. I just think that the biggest problem with this figure is the hands and what it tells you to do with the blaster and the sword. And I really, really dislike the fact that the paint can be rubbed off easily onto the hand. I think that this figure is pretty good. It's just, I'm a little bit confused on the characters that they chose for the first wave of this collection. While I did enjoy this figure, I am a little bit puzzled on the character selection for the first wave of this series. But other than that, the figure's fantastic, and I'm just nitpicking. I do think the figure is fine. So, I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, and gotta zoom.